So in all this, Dr. Fred, if you said you would want to get that opportunity, and if you get it, you would want to serve Kenyans as the president, but you can't work alone. You have to work with people. So at the moment, are you part of what is now being referred to as the united opposition? Are you part of them?
Yes.
We've had instances where they have accused you of being a mole. You've worked closely with the former president Uhuru Kenyatta.
Somebody's project.
They've said you're a government project. We've actually hosted people who are working closely with the top leadership of the united opposition, that is Rigathi Gachagua, former deputy president. And if you are part of the united opposition, and people have also questioned, the Gen Zs, to be specific, have said, you know what, we want to do with this old guard. We are tired of the same faces that we've seen. Some of us were born when some of these people who say that they will take our country to a different trajectory were in power. They served as ministers. They served as deputy presidents, for example. Some of them have integrity questions. Some of them served under corruption allegations, but they have all come together as part of a united opposition. When you say you are now with them, how does that settle with you, with all these issues notwithstanding?
Thank you for that question, Dennis. You know, the truth of the matter is this. Kenyans, everywhere you go, and I've had, since I came back from the bank at the end of August, early September is when my contract ended, I've had numerous meetings with Kenyans across the board, all walks of life and so on. In fact, before I made the decision to come and run for president, I had numerous meetings with people. Sometimes I tell people, well, I ask myself whether I want to run for president or I'm being dragged by the collar by some sections of the country to go and run for president. Kenyans want the opposition or the people outside of government to work together. And they work together not because they are holy or they have arrived from heaven, but because of one single objective: to try and give Kenya a better government, an alternative government. So I don't think the opposition is going to be like the Vatican with bishops and priests. It is just going to be the opposition that reflects Kenya. And human beings, leaders who come from various walks of life, who have different experiences, different talents, different histories, and different strengths to bring together. Essentially, what the country is looking forward to is to bring together this tapestry of experience, background, whatever, and then try to give Kenya an alternative government. I understand the impatience of Kenyans. You know, when you have an administration that has performed the way this has done, the frustrations that Kenyans have every day, I understand when they behave sometimes like they would like things to happen tomorrow. You know, they wish that the opposition came together tomorrow, hammered out everything tomorrow, and then from there, created government. But and unfortunately, in reality, that's not how it works. The unity of opposition or the unity of purpose is going to happen in spite of the differences of opinion, differences of background, differences of age, differences of experiences, and so on and so forth. Otherwise, if it was a very easy matter, people would meet in a room one day, by the evening they have told you this is going to be our opposition leader and so on. That is also another joke that I don't think the country should be taken through. It is going to be a painstaking experience of aligning visions, harmonizing perspectives, and so on. So that process, that integrative process, will also be a process of team building and creating an infrastructure that will alleviate some of the governance pains.
Why will they call you a government project or a mole?
Well, you see, I'll explain. I don't know why, but I'll explain my case. As for whether or not, I'm someone's project, I cannot rewrite history. I served as a cabinet minister under President Uhuru Kenyatta. As to whether or not that makes me his project, honestly, it's just splitting hairs at the end of the day, because people will say that, and then they say that, you are Uhuru's project, and they themselves are looking for the same Said Uhuru to talk to, and so on. I saw here when President Kenyatta went to State House to attend discussions on DRC Congo on behalf of the East African community, State House stopped everything they were doing that day and filled the social media with pictures. I think every single gesture, turn, nuance, and everything of
meant that there was a partnership in the offing.
It was all over social media and so on in some very, desperado type of approach. That is the same Uhuru that they are talking about. And in any case, by the way, everybody knows Uhuru was a successful president. Who wouldn't want to be associated with a successful president? But as to whether or not I am his project, that is the common gossip and.
But is it true?
And nonsense, yeah.
But is it true?
I'm not running for president because Uhuru told me to run for president. I took a decision to run for president. And there could be 3 or 4 other people in his cabinet, like Wamalwa, who are ministers with me in the same cabinet, who are interested in the presidency. So, who is the project? Why am I the project and not Wamalwa? Because you see, Wamalwa was Minister for Defense, I was Minister for Interior in the same cabinet. The current president was his deputy. Probably would be more a project than myself, because if ranking is the issue, he would be more the project than me. And I keep asking people every day, after I left the government, I went and took up a contract, hired on a competitive basis, who did not take me there. I was hired on a competitive basis, took up a contract with the bank, worked on it and finished, came back. How is it that nobody is saying I'm the bank's project? Because that is where
why wouldn't Fred Matiang'i form his own party? Like Rigathi Gachagua went formed his own party. You have Wamala who has his own party. Kalonzo has his own party. Martha Karua has his own party. Justin Muturi has his party. Everybody around has his party apart from Dr. Fred Matiang'i.
But you see, again, how is it that the flip side of that argument is this? How is it that you're not crediting me for consistency? I served in the Jubilee administration under Jubilee president, implemented Jubilee policies. Why would I walk away from them now and go to articulate other policies? I believed in them then, I believe in them now. I believed in that system of management, I believe in it now. The flip side of it is that, how is it that you're not looking at my consistency, that I am consistent? I did not say things then that I will regret today. That what I told Kenyans then and how I worked then is how I would like to continue working. Because the flip side of it is to look at the consistency of it. That I am consistent in the manner in which I do stuff. I have remained faithful to the public service journey that I have walked. I have not changed. I'm not flip-flopping. Today I'm talking Jubilee, tomorrow I'm talking other things. How is it that you are not crediting me for consistency in an environment where some of these people you are talking about have jumped parties 6, 7, 8 times, and that doesn't even make them, any better.
Yeah. Speaking of, you stick to policies and you stick to issues, but of course, the tribal card comes into play here at some point, and somehow you've managed to stay away from such leanings. Is there an importance when tribal politics comes into play, and are you leaning in that direction?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. Because you see, why would I do that? You see, okay, I don't like spending time talking about myself and so on. You look at my working life. Except the 10 years I worked in the public service, most of my working life has been in the international environment. I have done interviews where I am hired by people who are not even Africans in the first place. I submit myself to an interview process. I have been supervised by people who are not even Africans and filed reports. Some of the positions I've held before, I wouldn't survive if I didn't perform. And then the people who are supervising me were not from my tribe or even my country for that matter, or my region. So I'm not socialized in my career, and the things I've done before and how I've worked have not been socialized in an environment where the seminal place of tribe and region is that important. When I left government in 2022 after the elections, I applied for a job at the bank. I was interviewed twice for the job. In fact, the second interview, there wasn't even an African on the panel. And I believe that what we are seeking is to provide a contribution, and that contribution you can make because of how God has endowed you with the ability that you have to make it. Because honestly speaking, whatever people do, and indeed for that reason, I am not, the right person because I don't hang on tribes and so on, so be it. Because you see, they mean nothing. At the end of the day, my tribe never changed. I was the same one as the Minister of Education. I'm the same one today. I was the same one as the Minister of Interior. I'm the same one today. When I fought digital migration, nobody cares to even ask the question, what would have happened if we had not migrated at that time? Look at what drove me then, now, and always is get something done. Get some work done. And when you go, there's no job anywhere you do tennis. Wherever you are going to be hired, especially in the international environment, you're not hired and told, okay, we have hired you today as the regional director for SUNY, or the regional representative for SUNY in East and Southern Africa. Now, please come with your staffers. Bring your secretary, bring your accountant and everybody. You are hired, you turn up in that environment. And you find these people, the guy from Ghana is your program manager. This fellow from South Africa is, the fellow from Zimbabwe is this and so. You sit there and get some work done. And then you find a way of making things happen in that particular environment. You imagine an institution like the bank. You are not told, okay, now we have hired you. What you do, can you come from Nairobi or from Keroka with your staffers? You are just given a job and people expect the results from you, and they will assess you and they will deal with you on the basis of the results that you register.
But that's different from our politics.
And you see, the question is, we are dealing with a population that is fast resisting that nonsense. Because you see, if you look at our younger people in this country, especially the Gen Zs, that thing called tribe doesn't matter to them. They're asking for results. They're asking for things to be done. Everywhere I go, when I meet these young people, I was in a meeting in Minnesota, meeting Kenyans. Then a nice young woman was invited from the audience, and there is no way on earth I would have known who she is. All I knew is that she was Kenyan because it was a Kenyan meeting. And she went to the mic and said, I was a Form 4 student when you were CS Education. I went to Moi and Nairobi Girls. I was thoroughly impressed by what happened at that time, and you will have my vote, especially because if you do the same things the way you did them at that particular time. What does that tell me? It tells me that all Kenyans actually are looking for services. And then why are you hiding in your tribe? And how is it that it's only in politics where this makes sense? When you go to Nairobi Hospital and you are sick, I've given these people an example all the time. Would you look at the board and say, let me see if my tribesman is on duty today before I'm treated? There is no doctor. I can look at the names. There is no doctor from my tribe. I'm walking away. And you are sick. You arrive there because you want to be treated.
Yes.
So you go there, the fellow, sometimes you don't even know the tribal background of the nurse who's dealing with you.
Indeed.